There is activity here. I would even go as far to say as murder.
Prepare to unearth the mysteries of the treasure that time forgot.
Hello and welcome to Most Haunted as we return to Woodchester Mansion.
Today we tentatively retrace steps first taken in 2003. On that live summer solstice investigation, a series of chilling poltergeistal events made sure that this was a place we had to revisit. Abandoned yet beautiful, frightful yet compelling. What will Woodchester throw our way?
Oh my God, what was that?
Encased by vast Gloucestershire parkland, Woodchester stands tall as a symbol of a dream unfulfilled. Standing on the site of a former Georgia manor house, over 100 craftsmen were entrusted with its original construction in the mid-1850s. But a decade later, work suddenly and mysteriously stopped, and no one knows why. Some attribute this to a lack of money, whilst others speculate of murder. Is this why a plethora of ghostly sights, shapes and sounds have all been experienced in a house that has never truly been a home? Even now, restoration work continues to complete this troubled task. But who is waiting behind the doors of Woodchester Mansion?
This magnificent Gothic mansion that was created by a gentleman called William Lee in the 1850s was never really lived in. His grandson Vincent, we believe, lived in a small part of the place. But other than that, it's certainly not been a family home. And so I wonder why this place has such a reputation for being haunted. And I think, to be honest with you, it's the original house, Spring Park, because an awful lot of the stonework that you'll see here is reclaimed stone. And I think we've got a lot of residual energy, echoes from the past, that are recorded here in the fabric of the building.
Along this first floor corridor near the chapel entrance and master bedroom, there have been sightings of a large hooded monk-like figure. Strange blue lights have often been seen and a very odd presence has been felt. Many peculiar sounds are heard here, from deep rumblings and light tappings to falling masonry when no one is around.
This incredible Victorian edifice, left alone by the builders for some strange reason, everyone walked out. They left their ladders propped up against the walls, their tools hanging in the places where they'd been stored, doorways that lead nowhere, and corridors that stop in mid-air. Nobody knows really why the workmen left. There is a story that a murder took place and everyone just disappeared and never came back.
The ghostly apparition of a man wearing a uniform has been seen in the bathroom behind me, and very clear sounds of children playing and laughing have been heard in the whole of this area. But this corridor is haunted by a woman wearing what's described as an 18th century costume. She's said to be sobbing with uncontrollable grief.
I think the most frightening experience I had was when I was staying here overnight, because we had a late event, and I woke up at about 2 o'clock in the morning to hear the sound of a sort of disembodied voice floating around the building. And I just sat up in terror listening to this and not daring to go and investigate. The voice was female, and it said one sentence over and over again, which was, "I want to go home."
Down here in this dark, foreboding cellar, the image of a large black dog has been seen and heard growling by unsuspecting guests. Legend has it that if anyone sees the ghost, then someone is about to die.
In all its Gothic glory, Woodchester Mansion offers so many complex characteristics. Why was it abandoned? Will anyone ever call it their home? And tonight, will we hear more from the chilling but invisible voice that wants to go home? Parapsychologist Kieran O'Keefe is as keen as anyone to resolve this building's air of mysticism.
And one thing with Woodchester Mansion is you really are in the middle of nowhere. So if anything happens, literally, it's just us, it's just the crew. And that does make you a little bit nervous.
It does, and certainly there's this fear involved when you know that there is no real escape route. You know, when you know that if an emergency happens, it's going to be very, very difficult to get in contact with anybody else. So that'll elevate fear in some way.
Now, what sort of experiments do you want to do tonight?
Well, I'd like to run a pilot for an experiment that I hope we're going to do in future locations as well, which is something that was originally thought up in 1966, and that's this idea of putting a grid over a floor plan and essentially having mediums go through marking on the floor plan where they sense something, where they may actually see something, where they may even communicate or make contact with a spirit. It's kind of a controlled way of seeing if the mediums are coming up with the exact location of where the eyewitnesses have reported things, rather than just focus on general description.
Bearing everything in mind, are you looking forward to tonight's investigation?
I really am looking forward to it, mainly because you've done a live here before and had quite an exciting time, and we're really looking forward to coming back here. I haven't experienced it before, and just even driving here, the 10 minutes or so from the village down here, and then pulling up here and just seeing the mansion for what it is, I'm really excited about it. I just can't wait.
But what had Kieran's control test produced? Which rooms did David Wells and Gordon Smith individually feel to be a source for this location's paranormal phenomena? All will be revealed later. This is a building that keenly interests us all. At first sight, it's beautiful but bare, yet supposedly full of death and disregard, and we were determined to unearth its many secrets. And with everyone ready to begin, Gordon's first port of call would be the same cellars where 4 innocuous visitors have been scratched in the last year alone. But how many more of Woodchester's mysteries were about to be unleashed?
In this room, I actually felt it's almost like, not sinister, but it's like a memory of something tragic, something quite bad happening. I'm not sure at the moment what it is, but I did get a sense as soon as we came in of a kind of essence, some kind of leftover memory, but it's quite a violent memory.
And would you say that this particular area down here is active?
There is activity here. I would even go as far to say as murder, because there was something very, as soon as I came in, just this complete kind of something grabbing me.
And
not physically, but my mind was completely locked into something when I came in here. Mm-hmm. And that is something that I'm sure if anybody's come in here and felt that there's been a haunting of kinds, that's what they felt.
Much of this property's turbulent past remains open to conjecture. So are these the initial signs that point to an answer of who allegedly haunts here? And after suffering at the hands of a poltergeist once before, would most haunted live to regret reopening the wounds of Woodchester Mansion? Gloucestershire's Woodchester Mansion is somewhere that most haunted and many of its viewers have encountered before, as our live investigation here in 2003 produced a series of startling events. But who or what can be held accountable for this building's troubled past? And can such misfortune be directly linked to the accelerated levels of paranormal activity that are said to plague it today? With spiritualist medium Gordon Smith already sensing a murder in the cellar, we move back up to the same ground floor corridor that is said to harbour a hooded figure as well as a strange array of blue lights.
I'm trying not to let what I'm seeing influence my mind, because I'm trying. I mean, even now as I'm looking, I'm seeing lights actually appearing again out of walls and stuff. So there's lots of activity in this place. I'm probably seeing this completely clairvoyantly, but there's lights coming out everywhere.
And what does that mean?
Well, anytime I get that, I know there's some kind of activity around. I sense two different spirit people, and I'm getting them closer and closer. One, I feel, much taller man. One, I don't know if it's a kid or somebody very, very small. But I get the sense of that person whizzing around. Just times I'll get this sight or vision of like a shadow moving. The thing that keeps crossing my mind again and again is this tool shed or whatever, and I'm seeing it's just the shelves with various tools and things on it, and that keeps flashing into my mind. There's some kind of very strong Catholicism attached here somewhere, because I'm seeing like a cardinal, a guy with, you know, with the red...
The robe.
The
sash.
Yeah. And I just get this, whether it's a memory I'm downloading from the building, I don't know, but there's some very strong feeling of Catholicism in here as well. It's definitely Catholicism.
Okay.
Church of Rome.
We leave behind the Catholicism that played an integral part in this mansion's creation and move back up to the ground floor. And whilst Woodchester's kitchen may not have seen too much of its intended service, it is a room that I remember well.
There's definitely somebody, again, a spirit being around me, and he's following us around.
Is this the same man?
Same man, he's following us around. I've lost the little person, but I've still got the sense of the taller guy. My back is turning really cold because I can feel his presence there. I'm getting colder and colder, my back. Something's been removed. Tell me what it is then and I'll know. It's not making sense to me.
What's it saying?
He is making me aware of something. Something's been removed from here. Bless you. I don't know why. But it's almost like somebody's recently taken something out of here. It's just letting us know he's been watching people.
I think I know what it is.
If you know what it is, I have no idea, but it's his way of saying, I've been watching. It's almost like somebody's changed
You just
something
looked.
around.
You just looked to.
Yeah.
What do you see there?
It's almost like a table with something on it, but it's not complete. It's like mechanical. I'm seeing like the workings of something. You know, like if you could see the inside of a clock or a watch, but the big wheels I'm seeing. But that's here, or should be.
There was justification in my amazement at Gordon's words, as I knew that a clock did once stand against this same kitchen wall.
Over here, very interestingly, is a clock. Now, this clock apparently has been known to start on its own and stop on its own. There's no logical explanation to why that's happening.
It may now be gone from the kitchen, but the mansion's trustees do intend to reposition this clock back in its original position in the building's clock tower. And although few people have stayed long enough to warrant ever calling this a home, someone is clearly intent on watching our every move. And having felt two sensations elsewhere on the ground floor, Gordon was about to find an explanation for both his cold back as well as the imagery of a room containing tools.
I do get a feeling of somebody's definitely been murdered. It's to do with these tools, whatever connection they had to these, whether these are original tools, but it feels like I'm connecting to this place in this room. I'm absolutely turning freezing at the moment, absolutely stone cold. But I mean, again, my back, this icy cold. But this is very confusing. I've got to work it out. I really, really need to work this out. One part of me feels as though I've been like run through with a blade or a sword. This is where the cold thing is coming, and I'm somebody. That's one feeling, and then I'm getting this other feeling of being smacked over the head with like a heavy object.
Is there any way of picking up a nationality with this man?
Well, that's the funny thing, because I don't hear what he's saying. It's almost like a babble. It just sounds like gibberish to me. I feel as I'm just seeing somebody actually chipping away now. It's like, again, the moment I get a contact, I can then link into things and pick up psychically in their mind. And I'm actually saying, show me something you did, and I'm seeing him tapping with a chisel. So, like a stonemason or something like that. There's a connection to that.
It is true that a man is believed to have been murdered here using one of these tools. Over 100 workmen were employed to build Woodchester, but stories state that they fled the mansion in fear. So could Gordon's sensing of a murder be the reason for their sudden departure hundreds of years ago? But what is the language that he can't understand? Perhaps David Wells's reading in some of the mansion's many rooms would help to resolve this particular debate.
The only thing I've got up here that's different is a bit more residual. It's almost like more builders. Do you know what I mean? Like stonemasons or things. It must be residual because I don't feel as if they're actually here. There's 2 or 3 of them chipping away. So it's chip, 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 chip. I don't know if people might hear that.
Is this something from hundreds of years ago, or is this something recent?
This is from when this was built.
Right.
It's not restoration work. It's from when it was built. And there's this one energy, and I keep getting the word stonemason, stonemason, stonemason all the time. It's just in my head all the time.
With both psychics strongly sensing a stonemason, David felt drawn towards the chapel, a beautifully crafted but ultimately redundant shrine. However, it may have been intended for devotion, but did it witness death?
Okay. This space is really interesting for me. The stonemason at last comes to light. He is active in here now. He's kneeling beside... there's a stone just over here, and he's kneeling beside it.
Right.
Now, I'm not for a second suggesting this is what killed him, but he's either fallen or something that size has fallen on him. But in my mind's eye, I can sense him falling or something falling. I'm just wondering that's why they're throwing.
Right. Yes.
The throwing of stone in particular, because he seems really active to me. This seems to be one of the most active characters here. He seems out of place and out of sorts, almost, I don't want to use the word orphaned, but so little family, do you know what I mean? And they also seem, his family, he's telling me, he's French.
Oh.
He's telling me that they are, that's why he feels so lonely, he feels so separated from people.
So if Kieran, for instance, was to talk in French out loud to him, do you think we might get some sort of response, or a response to you?
Perhaps, yeah, perhaps. Maybe when we do more concentrated work.
Richard,
Yes.
hearing what David's saying about the stonemason and the French connection.
Yeah, there is certainly French glassworkers were employed here. But the amazing thing is that EVP has been done in here, and they have actually picked up French voices on the EVP in this chapel.
In the chapel
In
itself?
the chapel itself,
That's why
yes.
he's
Yeah, which is quite good.
Gosh,
interesting.
that's really fascinating.
So we know that a French workman appears to have fallen victim to the apparent curse of Woodchester. But are Gordon and David's foreign souls the same man? And having moved on just a few yards, David's forewarnings didn't relent.
It also feels as if things have been thrown at me. You know, I can sort of sense things clipping past me, which again could say there's someone or something here that doesn't particularly want us to be here. It's nothing to do with the cellar. It's absolutely nothing to do with the cellar.
So there's somebody up here. Is it one person?
There is one male, I think, who's doing throwing.
Okay.
And why do you think he would be throwing things?
I don't know. It's either get out or to draw attention to himself, I presume.
Alone and seemingly empty, and now cloaked in darkness, we synchronise our cameras and split into 3 separate groups in readiness for the night vigils. Whilst David, Richard and both Johns bravely return to the cellar, Andy, our security consultant, assists Ian and Rachel's vigil along the 2nd floor corridor. That enabled me to join Gordon and Kieran, back in the tool room where 2 men allegedly lost their lives.
I'm getting that cold feeling again that I had earlier.
On your back?
My arms and my back. Both arms in the centre of my back. There's definite presence here.
Hold up both arms either side so I can get a comparison. Yeah, there's a definite difference there.
Yeah, it's massively cold on the left side. I'm hearing this garbled whisper again, really quick.
What does it sound like? Try and say what it sounds like, even if it's garbled, just...
Monsieur. Monsieur. Monsieur.
What does that mean?
Monsieur. Monsieur.
It's two things. It could be saying monsieur,
That's what it could be that, or
Monsieur,
Monsieur,
or initially it sounded to me like séjour.
Séjour, yeah, whatever that is.
What does that
Séjour,
mean?
which could be mispronunciation of c'est sûr or séjour, which is it is certain or it is.
Ah.
I don't know, I'm hearing it so
It
fast
could
and
be
so quiet.
yeah,
and
it could be a
whispered.
number of different things.
So he's French?
That's the thing. I'm interpreting it as French because of what we know about certain figures here.
Although the other simultaneous vigils failed to report any significant events in either the cellar or upper floors, our stay in the tool room had added extra momentum to our investigation, with Gordon physically replaying words that Kieran believes may be French. We then decide to visit the kitchen to test just how active it really is. With David and Gordon both offering protection, they open the circle before Kieran uses his linguistic skills to translate our attempts at communication with the French stonemason who is thought to have perished within Woodchester.
Est-ce qu'il y a quelqu'un ici? Nous sommes ici pour parler avec vous.
Who was that?
Nobody.
Just bang my foot on the floor. No one did.
Pouvez-vous faire quelque chose?
Keep going, Kieran. Just wait for
Encore? Encore, s'il vous plaît?
It's okay. It's okay.
Go on, Kieran, keep going.
Encore, s'il vous plaît, parce que nous sommes ici pour parler avec vous.
Again.
I don't get that.
Nous sommes ici seulement pour le vrai. Pour le vrai. Est-ce que vous êtes triste maintenant?
Yeah.
I think he's alone.
Yeah. He's
Is he lonely?
totally.
Ask Kieran.
Est-ce que vous êtes seul? Ou peut-être il y a autre personne avec vous?
It's moving to again.
That's great.
Uncle.
Encore une autre fois?
Well, we are not putting any different pressure on this. That's amazing.
Funny enough, Richard and I both lifted our heads
Yeah.
actually off the table.
Oh.
Just keep it going.
Une autre fois, s'il vous plaît. Nous sommes ici avec respect pour vous.
Keep going, Kieran, keep going. Please.
Pour
Lift
vous.
it, friend.
Nous sommes ici pour vous. Nous sommes ici pour aider vous. Nous sommes ici pour aider vous.
Brilliant.
Voulez-vous l'aide de nous? Yes, he's replying.
Yes.
I'm asking, does he want to help? We're here to help you.
Yeah.
Does he want to see his family?
Yes, he does.
So he understands... Does he understand us? Does he understand English? Ask him.
Vous comprenez anglais?
Sudden, sharp, almost angry jolts that randomly moved the table, plus communication with a native of France who appears to have once worked on the building of this house. But in a construction that was built on dreams, just how many nightmares await the rest of the most haunted team?
I hope you're home and join us, because I'm scared shitless.
Woodchester Mansion lies lost, almost forgotten, deep in Gloucestershire's countryside. But whilst a trust continues to fulfil William Lee's dream of completing this monumental mansion, our paranormal investigation is rapidly gathering pace. A forceful male presence seems to rule amongst the astral energies apparent here, and in order to ascertain just how many men roam each of its 4 floors, we split into 3 separate and simultaneous groups. Gordon Smith heads back into the cellar with Richard, Rachel, Kath and Ian, whilst David Wells joins Kieran and both Johns in another astrally active area, the kitchen. That left me upstairs, and even more worryingly, in the presence of Carl and Stuart, two men who seemingly know no fear.
Is anyone here? Right, I thought I heard somebody walking right behind me then.
Did you know something, Carl? I was just about to say that then. I heard those steps too.
It was, yeah, but I could actually feel the vibrations of them. I just looked at your feet to see where you were.
They were coming from behind you.
Can I walk down that way a bit?
Hell, fire!
I actually thought I saw something go right past your head then. Can I stop this and go back? Can you just point at Stuart?
Yeah,
And he's trying to recreate it?
yeah.
I'm not throwing it at you.
You're more in the middle. You're more in the middle.
No.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
That's it,
Yeah.
So it would have to be someone on these stairs. It couldn't have been you, Yvette.
No.
It obviously couldn't have been Stuart, wasn't it? And it couldn't have been me because I was here and that's where the shot is.
Right, okay.
Ooh, sound. Something creaking. Yeah, definitely.
Again.
Yeah. Okay, come on, friend. Can you do it again?
Can you please make a sound? Can you throw another object? We're not going anywhere. If you want to attack one of us, please do so.
No.
Me or Carl.
What was that?
What was that? What's up? What did you see?
Is there a creak up there like someone was looking?
Oh, I heard that creak, yeah.
I'm not liking this now.
Come on, do something. If you're there, push one of us. Push Yvette.
No, don't push me. I don't want to be bloody pushed.
We've found the best way for you to communicate with us is by tapping or banging. So if there's someone with us now in this atmosphere, come on. Thank you. Is that
right
you?
here, I can feel somebody standing here.
Come on, is that you tapping?
Come on, friend. Do it again.
There's a bat there, that's what it is.
Where?
Above you. Above
Oh,
you.
cool. Where?
There it is. Down towards.
There it is.
There it is.
Oh, I've got it.
Go on, better. I thought that was a room.
What's up, Carl?
I thought this was a room. Look how far down we go.
Be careful. It's alright.
What's the matter?
Right. Which one is it? Oh, right, yeah. Goes down about 20 feet or so, doesn't it? What the was that?
It came straight from up there.
It did as well, didn't it?
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no one in there.
It must have come from up there. It couldn't have come from anywhere
I
else.
saw it drop.
Did you?
I saw it drop right from the ceiling.
Well, I'd like to come up here on my own, as scary as it is.
Stuart, you're definitely gonna come up here on your own.
Yeah, if that's all right. Yeah.
Right, okay. Stuart's coming up here on his own. Do something to him. If you're that big. If three of us are thought I saw someone right behind you then.
Where?
I honestly did. I thought I saw someone right behind you. No one is there? Do you know, I could have sworn I saw somebody quite large talking behind you.
Movement down there.
I've just heard something.
Yeah.
There's nothing at the bottom of the steps. There's nothing there. Oh, it's a bat! Holy shit! Where's that gone?
What? What? What have you seen?
Spirit lights. Lights, green lights.
No.
No shit.
See?
Where?
Here. It's just around there. God, I feel all funny now.
Describe what the lights were. Were they one on top of each other or all at the same time?
And they flash like bit. You know, imagine a triangle, just a 3 point at the top of a triangle, bit, like that, one after the other.
From another curious array of lights in both the cellar and the kitchen to a startling series of poltergeist phenomena upstairs, the tension within Woodchester was growing to nerve-wracking heights. And whilst creaks in the desolate roof rafters were troubling Carl, Stuart and I were worrying this was minute compared to the 2 threatening pieces of rubble that were thrown towards us. And although I made a hasty retreat into the safety of the crew room, these 2 crew members were confident of outlasting anything that the mansion's poltergeist may still have to offer.
There's dark in all of us, in obviously varying degrees, but that's what it would seek. It would attach the darkness in you.
So if somebody was down here on their own, do you think that they would feel something?
I think I wouldn't personally advise anyone to come on their own.
But despite this forewarning, the boys headed high and low.
Right, I'm just at the entrance of the cellar. Now, David told us not to go down here on our own. And so I'm going down here on my own.
That's the rest of the crew you can hear at the moment. I'll just give it a minute to quieten down. Something's just been thrown. And it's come down from the far end. Hello? Is there anybody here with me? Is there any poltergeist activity? Hello? Hell. Hello? Oh, shit.
That's for it happens.
Hello?
I can't focus on anything. That came from down here.
Is there anyone up here with me now? If so... I'm hearing doors bang. Hello? Something's going on, and I don't know where it's coming from. It seems to be a door opening and closing. I can't panic, I've got to stay calm.
Is there any... Shit. Sorry, I'm swearing. Sorry, Mum. I can't even pinpoint where that's coming from. It's kind of like a... I hope I'm catching
For f***'s sake, what's down there? Hello? Just gonna turn the camera around. Have a look, because I can't see a thing. It seemed to be coming out of here. I'm not too sure, I can't tell. I need a walkie-talkie. I've not got a walkie-talkie in me. Oh!
This whole room is like a vaulted ceiling or vaulted ceilings. What was that? Hello? 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 Shit, door shut. Door shut.
Hello? Is there any crew out there? Something's definitely happening at the moment. I'm going to have to walk against the wall here because it's all I've got. I've just heard like a groaning sound twice. A stone's just been thrown my way. I don't know what the f***'s going on. All I need to know is that...
Woodchester is a setting that some of Most Haunted's crew have encountered before. And despite remaining empty to the eye, our psychics had earlier identified a strong and possible offensive male presence among this building's astral energies. And this mansion's gruesome groans and forceful thrown stones were quickly reducing some of us to tears.
I don't know what the f***'s going on. All I need to know is that...
Stuart's terror along the second floor had also attracted the attention of Carl in the cellar.
I thought, just when that door shut, I thought I heard Stuart shouting upstairs.
As well as the crew room, where Andy, our security consultant, and I rushed to Stuart's aid.
Stuart? Yeah, I'm alright. Right, mate. I'm up here.
What's happened?
A stone was thrown at me, and then I'm stood round about here, and I've got the camera, I'm saying something to myself, and I've got this right down my ear, and I've just panicked like mad, screamed, swore like a and just froze basically. I thought I was going to die and have a heart attack. I honestly thought something was going to actually come out and kill me. All I need to know is that... All I need to know is that...
With Stuart feeling that he had pushed his luck too far, he and Andy returned to the safety of the crew room, whilst I asked both our mediums to visit the scene of his fears, an area that they immediately identify as active.
What are you feeling?
Immediately I get this almost like stopped.
I think I know what you mean. I'm being insulted.
Yeah.
By
Yeah,
who?
this is not good, this energy.
By who?
Don't know. I'm just hearing the words. I'm hearing the word. I'll tell you exactly what I'm hearing. I'm hearing the words "condemned to hell."
Yeah. I don't know, whoever this is feels like this is their house. To me. Because they're... I don't know, it's if you shouldn't be here, you just shouldn't be here. Somebody's shouting Lee.
Ah?
Is that your name, friend? Lee.
So is William Lee present in the home that he wanted but never realised? And is he responsible for the series of insults and hideous groans that have been continually aimed at our team? Carl, meanwhile, was wrestling with his own demons. But how much punishment can one man take?
I'll get too old for this. I hope you're home and enjoying this, because I'm scared shitless. Hello? I don't think I can stay there, I'm so scared. The trouble is there's something out there shuffling. Hello?
I know you don't like us, and I think you particularly don't like Gordon and me. If you don't want us here, then let us know. Give us a sign that you don't want us here. Communicate with us properly.
Well, light anomaly.
Seems to come from right in here. That. Right, there's got to be someone down here. There's got to be. Who's here? Is
Is there any crew down here?
Shit. No, I'm sorry, I'm not doing it, not doing it. Not doing it. I don't know if you can pick that up, but I've heard something down there. I'm going up and get some help. I'm done. I'm done.
Lee, are you here? If there's someone here called Lee, a spirit person.
Turn the light up. That's footsteps, isn't it?
My battery's about to die. Shit, battery's gone on the camera.
Torch is dying.
Get to stairs quickly.
I'm having... Shit, which way? Shit, we've lost power. We can't see, so I'm having to use the camera because the torch battery's gone. Which way now?
Which way?
Which way? Shit, I can't see. Holy shit. Oh, well, phew.
With Carl regretting his decision to enter the cellar alone, we now had to contend with a sudden and unwelcome drain on both the torch and camera batteries that we ensure are fully charged before each investigation. And what had Carl's camera caught amongst the claustrophobic chambers that comprise Woodchester's cellar? This morose moan, almost akin to someone taking their final breath, had us unnerved, but also intrigued. So with brand new batteries fitted, Gordon, David and I persuade Richard, Rachel and a troubled Carl to tackle one final vigil, back in the cellar. And it wasn't long before another stone hit Carl and hurt him.
Because I thought you breathed right in my ear and it was you going...
Oh, Carl. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Somebody doesn't make...
Yet another barrage of stones being thrown, and once more from an angle and distance that immediately eliminates any of those present in the room. And once back in the crew room, I noticed that Carl's scars weren't just psychological. But how did all of this relate to Kieran's control test? Earlier in the day, the parapsychologist had shown our mediums around the building's ground floor individually to ascertain which areas they felt would provide activity during our investigation, and the results were certainly interesting. Whilst David highlighted the chapel as holding astral energies, Gordon felt the tool room to be potentially active. And additionally, both mediums independently marked the kitchen and chapel corridor as paranormally active. Woodchester Mansion was created and crafted with good and holy intent, with our mediums Gordon and David both identifying areas that they believed to be highly active. We continued with our quest and were rewarded with evidential footage that terrorised the crew, but ultimately impressed one man in particular.
It's been a week since the Most Haunted team investigated the Woodchester Mansion, and it's given me time to reflect on the phenomena that occurred and speak to some of the witnesses. There are a number of interesting occurrences at Woodchester Mansion. The first involved a vigil with Carl, Yvette and Stuart, where a stone crossed their path.
Hell, fire!
This particular stone throwing occurrence was more impressive because of the actual footage that was caught. You see on camera that Stuart is at the front, Yvette is behind and Carl is actually on the camera. So we have objective evidence of where the three of those people are at the point when the stone crossed their path, which means we can discount the possibility of fraud occurring. We can discount the possibility that somebody actually threw it. In addition, we know where other members of the crew were on that particular occasion. For this reason, this particular film capture of the stone crossing their path is the most interesting footage to date that I've seen.
I'm saying, show me something you did, and I'm seeing him tapping with a chisel. So, like a stonemason or...
And I keep getting the word stonemason.
Both Gordon and David mentioned the mason, the chap that was possibly killed, the Frenchman killed possibly by falling stone. And it was interesting later when Gordon actually took us off because he wanted to go to the area where the tools had been stored all those years ago.
Now, although there wasn't correspondence on every single room, they both picked up on a stonemason character. Now that's fascinating, and it's a scientific step towards looking for some sort of mediumistic ability.
Some say that you should never return. But what were the hidden and fearful forces that drove us all to near despair? Woodchester may be one location that needs to be left in peace. Until next time, sleep tight.
Six families' biggest secrets exposed to the nation. Family Forensics starts Wednesday at 10 o'clock, new and exclusive to Living TV.
Oh, yeah, it's all to come tomorrow after we find out who is Britain's next top model. The finale comes tomorrow at 9. Next, the scares didn't end there. Dare we head back to Woodchester Mansion? It's a Most Haunted Extra on the way next.